Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am back with yet another episode of my What If Pokemon Were in Monster Hunter series. I just want to give a huge thanks and shout out to all of y'all who have been following me along the YouTube journey here. We just hit over 3,000 subscribers, man. We're out here making gains, baby. Also, in case you haven't noticed, if I sound a little nasally right now, it's because my sinuses are messed up because I live in Central Florida, and right now the pollen count is crazy high, and it's kicking my ass, man. So I'm going to try not to sound too much like a mouth breather while I speak here. Yeah, let's talk about this video here. So, as you can see, I'm redesigning Kyogre. So Kyogre, I mean, in case you didn't know, is a whale, or I guess more specifically kind of modeled after an orca. But I didn't want to go with too much of like an orca. I wanted to go a little bit more towards like a large size whale, like a humpback or something, just because I don't know what it is, but like killer whales or like just porpoises in general, they don't seem as like ancient looking, you know, like they're so like streamlined and like modern looking, and I wanted, since Kyogre's like this ancient ocean god, I wanted to give it a much more ancient or prehistoric appearance. So I just feel like a whale's like a humpback or something, or just like large size whales in general would be a little bit better to incorporate into some of the design here. Obviously, I kept some elements of the orca, like with its upper jaw there and its snout, and then obviously like the white patterns and everything. And as you can see here, because I didn't want it to be too plain, because like, you know, I'm not gonna really, you see there I was kind of drawing scales a little bit, but just like texture wise, it was going to look a little too plain. So you can see there I threw on these little like barnacles, like what, you know, whale barnacles, and also kind of like a little Easter egg. You'll see I ended up coloring them similar to the color palette of the Pokemon, what's it called, Binacle. So just kind of like a little extra Easter egg there to include in this design. And one of the things I thought would be cool is if Kyogre was in Monster Hunter, what those barnacles could even play a role in the fight. So it would be such a large creature. I kind of look at this, the way this fight would go, similar to like one of the what's it called, the Morans, like Gen Moran, where, you know, it's almost like a siege, like when you're on a ship and maybe like chasing this thing down, and like you're using Dragonators and cannons and like harpoons, and then maybe one of the phases in the fight when you're alongside of it, you'll shoot like these harpoons down to Kyogre there, and you'll kind of zip line down the rope down onto its back, and then at like one phase you'll be trying to like destroy all these little binacles or whatever off of Kyogre, and like they'll fight back a little bit or something. Maybe that'd be like a cool phase to incorporate into the fight. I also, I gotta admit, I never played, what was it, which Monster Hunter was it where the Morans were in? Was it the third or the fourth one? I forget which generation it was, but yeah, I never got to do those fights, so I'm not sure exactly how they work. But so maybe if y'all know in the comments down below, if you have some ideas what the fight could be like, you know, you can help me come up with some ideas. So here we have the completed design. You can also see I threw on like some scars and stuff on the Kyogre just to make it look a little bit more aged and everything. But we have Kyogre, the oceanic deity. Monster class is Elder Dragon. Element is water, ailments none, and weakness is thunder. Yeah, so here's Kyogre, and of course I have to do the primals, right? Because those are even cooler. So let's switch over to Primal Kyogre now. So here you go, Primal Kyogre, the ancient whale god. The only thing I had to change up with the design, obviously the color palette and everything, and then the hind fins there, I had to make them a little bit longer. I couldn't really figure out how I wanted to do like the translucent part on Primal Kyogre, because like I didn't want to make it like fully see-through, because like if you look at its Pokemon design, like you see through it to the point where it almost looks like there's no bones, but I mean that wouldn't really work for Monster Hunter. So I kind of went with more of a route where it's kind of translucent, where you could see kind of like the vascular system underneath, like kind of like the energy pulsating through. So yeah. Same thing, it's an Elder Dragon, element water, ailments none, weakness thunder. Nothing really changes there, it just gets bigger, changes the color palette. Nothing too crazy there. So yeah, that's it for Primal Kyogre, and now we will move on to the time-lapse design of Groudon. Alright, here we are starting with one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, Groudon. Just a little backstory for y'all. So, I was born in '92, so my generation, the kids of my generation, we are the OG Pokemon fans. Like, we grew up alongside Pokemon Gen 1 onward. And for me, Gen 3, Ruby and Sapphire, and eventually Emerald, that's like peak of Pokemon. To me, that's as high as Pokemon has ever been in terms of just everything, especially Pokemon designs. Like, nowadays, Pokemon designs, few and far between am I a fan of them. Like, there's so many just garbage, goofy, that don't even look like they fit in the same universe. Just the way they're styled. Don't get me started. But I've always felt Gen 3 overall the peak of Pokemon designs. They weren't too detailed. They were still kept with the similarities of Gen 1 and 2, where they're all basically, for the most part, based off of animals. Very simple in design, and incorporate some other things. And for me, like, Gen 3, like, pushed as high as the design should be, detail-wise. But of course, Groudon was always my favorite, man. I remember going to Best Buy and seeing that thing on the shelf, and I was like, oh, I know what I'm picking. My brother got Sapphire, I got Ruby. I was so hyped for that shit, man. So yeah, let's just get to the design here. So the monsters I kind of used from Monster Hunter's inspiration for Groudon here was Akantor and Lao Shanlong. But I ended up going with more of the Akantor route. It was kind of like the first monster that I really thought would be suitable, because I was like, I don't know if I want to make Groudon like fully bipedal, just because it would have to look a little bit more too much like a brute wyvern, which I didn't want to make it like a T-Rex. So I felt like going with the route of it kind of walking on all fours, and then at times it can kind of rear up on its hind legs there during fights and everything, so it'll be a little bit more reminiscent of the actual Pokemon Groudon. Yeah, I went through a couple different iterations, as you saw me sketching earlier, but I just ended up going up with this one here. Funny enough, I had kind of already did this drawing beforehand. I didn't feel like I wanted to go that route, and then I started a whole new blank canvas and sketching, but then eventually went right back to this design because I felt like it was the best one. So you can actually see me here throwing in a bunch of little scales along the underbelly, which I'm trying to do that more with my drawings now, just to give them a little bit more detail. That's a pain in the ass, and I've been a big fan of drawing all the small scales, but for you guys, I'm trying to put a little bit more time into these. So there you go. Now I'm just filling up the line work there. In terms of like the fight, how it would be in Monster Hunter, I don't think it'd quite be like a siege. Obviously, it's a super large monster, so it'd be probably along the scales of like what monster? I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about what the fight would be like for Groudon. You know, if it would just be like a kind of generic like final boss battle, like all the ones we've gotten, like was like Shara Ishvalda, like something like that size type of creature and fight. Like I don't think it would have to necessarily be like a siege fight like Kyogre would be. But hey, I don't know. Maybe if you guys had some cool ideas of how the fight would be. Obviously, Groudon would have a lot of attacks that would be like smashing attacks, like slamming its fist down into the ground, causing like these like magma cracks and eruptions through the ground or something. That would be cool. And obviously, it would have like a magma breath and all that sort of thing. But here we have the completed design. Groudon, the volcanic deity, monster class Elder Dragon. Element fire ailments are Fire Blight and Blast Blight, and the weakness is water. And then you see the size comparison. I threw a little Charizard there for reference. If you go back to my previous video and see Charizard's size compared to a Hunter, you'll get a sense of scale for this one here. But just like I did Primal Kyogre, of course I had to do Primal Groudon, so let me get that loaded here next for y'all to see. And here we have Primal Groudon. So like I told y'all, regular Groudon was always one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, and I remember as soon as they announced Omega Ruby and disregard that. Let's wind back. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Okay, and that's all they did. This new design for Groudon, dude, it was so sick. I was like, you took Groudon, which was already one of my favorites, and you made it even cooler looking. I just love it. It's got like the black underbelly, the black spikes, and it's just got all the different magma and everything flowing through it. It's so dope. So you can see for the design, I just kind of added a couple extra stripes and such, and I just wanted to kind of make them look almost like they're sort of magma-like with the yellow and orange to it. And maybe like when it's enraged or something in the fight, then those will kind of light up and glow a lot more vividly or something. So that's how you know it's enraged. But yeah, so we have Primal Groudon, the Ancient Terra God. Monster Class Elder Dragon, Element Fire, Elements Fire Blight, and Blast Blight. Weaknesses Water. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. I'm working on. Obviously, if you've seen my post, you'll kind of have a idea of some of the next designs I'm gonna have for my other videos. I've also thought about, since I have like supers now, like super thanks and all that, maybe I'll do something where I don't know, if people donate a certain amount of money to supers, then they can choose one of the whatever next Pokemon I redesign for my next video will be. I don't know, maybe y'all can let me know down in the comments below any suggestions or something like that, if that was something that you would like me to do or you're interested in. I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out ideas for the channel here. But yeah, that's it for me and in this video. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.